a brave warrior, but what the hell, he's Ben Linus, Michael Emerson. Thank you, guys. I probably should ask you first, have you, any of you worked together, had a moment together in the past? You know, anyone know each other?
Well, we know each other.
We've had several moments together, all of them personal, never professional.
We form bromances on this panel, by the way. All right, okay, we got that out of the way. All right, I always like to start off the panel each year with a little exercise I call Watch This, Sorry About That. Because that gives each of you a chance to talk about your current role, except maybe John Bradley, I think you're a little unemployed.
Unemployed and exercise, my two least favourite words already.
All right. All right, I'm gonna change it up a little bit here. This year we're gonna do Watch This, Yes, I Actually Appeared in That. So after you talk about your current role, I'd like you to look back in your career. Think of some random movie or music video or commercial that you appeared in that we didn't know about. Like, were you a random floating body in Titanic? Or were you like a classmate in Kenan and Kel, that kind of thing? All right? You got it? You ready? All right, so Mike, I'm going to start with you, Mr. Emerson. Tell us about your current role. Watch this. Who do you play?
I play a forensic psychologist named Leland Townsend on a new show called Evil. And there's not even a pretense to be in a gray area. He's a full-on bad guy. A mild-mannered person, he just seems to work with a whole underground network of demons.
I like it. All right, now, can we go back in your life? Is there something we'd be surprised to learn about you that you did?
Wow. I played a wisecracking Upper East Side doorman on an episode of Stark Raving Mad.
Oh, wow. I remember that show, yes? All right, I'll take it. Aiden, you're up next. Tell us about Project Blue Book.
Okay, so the current role, we just started shooting the second season of Project Blue Book. I play a character, well, it's a real person, based on a real person who's no longer with us, Joseph Allen Hynek, who was a, ufologist and, one of the leading proponents in that movement. So our series is fun. Each of our episodes is based on a real case, and we're trying to bring the science to it and just have some fun. And I've been lucky enough to fall in with two of Hynek's children, so I've got access to all kinds of stuff. So that's what we're doing. I like to think of him as a UFO hunter. Someone coined that somewhere, and I thought it's kind of not really what it is, but I like it. And as far as stuff from the past, I have played a dead body a couple of times. Just a dead body, not a dead body that was living before. in a play, The Real Inspector Hand by Tom Stoppard, I played a dead body. And outside of that, lots of random stuff, public information films about like drugs, homelessness, and an episode of The Bill, of course. Yeah! Everyone's been in The Bill. Actually, Naomi Watts was in The Bill the same year that she got cast in Mulholland Drive, which is a pretty interesting fact for you. There you go.
All right. John, what's going on these days? What are you doing?
Not a great deal, to be fair. But if in terms of this past-present division that we've got going, we're going to talk about Sam as the present, right? Or is my entire career...
Have you already, let's start with you right now. Have you already, I don't want to put pressure, but have you already booked something? Or are you just now looking for the perfect project right now?
Why did you shake your head then? You said, have you booked something? And Aiden went...
The reason reason I shook my head was it's a tough question. Because I don't know. I don't know what you're asking. But if it was me, I'd be going, fuck.
No.
How do I answer that? Because I don't know how you were going to answer it.
No, I have booked something.
Okay.
Yay!
Look so surprised. And it's we're going to start shooting it later in the year. It's a romantic comedy starring Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson and Sarah Silverman and myself. And yeah, it's a very different kind of change of direction and change of pace. And I don't have to wear padded leather tunics in all sorts of kind of unforgiving weather exactly. Yeah, but yeah. Looking back on my kind of, I'd like to say early career, but it wasn't early enough really. I played the plum role of Austrian prince in. You always know the size of the part if they don't have a name. You know what I mean? They don't have a name. They're just called Austrian prince in Joe Wright's film of Anna Karenina with Keira Knightley.
Oh.
And I went into it knowing that I had one line in it, and my one line was going to be, we were stuck up on the train for an hour. Right, that was going to be the line. I was going to do it like that, and we shot that. And then somebody must have thought, well, we can see him on the train. He doesn't need to say that. We can see him on the train. So my whole, if you look very, very closely, my whole contribution to that movie is looking grumpily out of a train window for about 1.5 seconds. Uncredited as well. I don't think it's on my IMDb. I really hope it is. And that looks really desperate.
It's going to be on now.
Thank you. All right, Chris, what about you? Tell us about where's Mr. Lightning at right now?
Oh, yes. Jefferson Pierce is in a whole lot of mess right now. As we just started season 3 last week, actually. So I'm still alive. As far as going back, I played a character. He didn't have really a first name. I guess he did. He had a first, middle, last name, which was Silky. Yeah,
I can see that.
The Pimp. On an episode of NYPD Blue. No, check it out. Check it out. Very, very proud of my Silky work. So yeah, I mean, every black man wants to play a pimp, right?
Silky, I like that. Silky. How about you, Cameron? Where are we picking? Where are things at right now with Grandpa?
Well, season 2 of Krypton is currently airing on Sci-Fi. Thank you very much. We're having great fun with that. I play the granddaddy of Steel, which is good fun. And previously, I did a selection of British and Irish television and theatre, which only my mother has seen. And really, she shouldn't have seen it either. But I will tell you this, I did play, when we did a nativity play at school, I did play the starring role of the snowman. I went to one of those schools that had way too many kids to properly cast the nativity story. So I was the pivotal, small but pivotal role of the snowman present at the birth of Jesus.
I'm currently doing season 2. I've just finished season 2. Season 3 starting September 3rd of Cobra Kai. Thank you for tuning in. It's on YouTube. So I'm inhabiting the skin of Johnny Lawrence, a character I played in 1983. So that makes me about 27. And I'm having a great time. They turned him inside out. We're having a great time with the show, and thanks for tuning in. Previously, my first ever time on television, my dad was the associate director of the Love Boat, and so I got to do my first extra spot on that when Jacqueline Smith was a guest star. So my dad threw me in the pool, not threw me literally, but got me in the pool, and I had to swim on a raft in the pool, which I thought was epic. But then we watched the show back. And I was sitting on the raft going back and forth, just staring at the camera the entire time, just staring right into the lens. So that was my, so I can't do that, I guess. I was like, hey, there's the camera. So that's where it started, and still try not to look in the lens.
All right, there's so much I want to cover today, and I also want to give the fans a chance to ask questions. So to really expedite the get to know you process, I'm going to ask you a series of important yes/no questions. And if you don't mind, just raise your hand to the answer yes, and then keep it down for no.
Okay.
All right? All right, question number 1. Have you done some manscaping you regret?
That's baloney. I'm gonna raise it for all of them.
No.
What's manscaping though?
I didn't hear the question.
Look on John's. Have you done some manscaping? Manscaping you regret?
This is a trick question though, isn't it? Because if I've done no manscaping, I'm going to keep my hand down, but it looks like I do it and don't regret it.
Okay.
As opposed to just not doing it. Right? So no, I haven't.
No, so keep it down.
Regrettable or otherwise.
Okay, all right.
I'm getting too passionate about this answer. Right? I haven't.
Let's move on. All right, have you dated a co-star? Oh.
Long time. It didn't go well.
Wait, he looks confused.
Well, I mean, I have played opposite the woman I'm married to, but it's not like dating.
Oh. You, Aiden?
Yeah, I forgot I had, but I have. We've been together 5 years, actually.
All right, next.
Now.
Have you attempted to slide across the hood of a car like you were the star of a 70s cop show? That's hard.
Yeah.
Nice.
Used your stardom to score pretty much anything. Cameron, are you such a good boy? Has Cameron raised his hand at all?
I'm Superman's bloody grandfather.
All right. Sent an entree back to the kitchen more than once.
I was raising my hand. No way, don't do that. Right? None of us did that.
All right. Used your cry on command skills to woo a date. Used your cry on command skills to woo a girl, woo a date. John. All right, this one was big to admit. Did you linger in an area where or when the paparazzi was hanging out? No? Oh, okay. John.
No.
Quite the opposite.
Don't listen to that.
All right, 2 more. Feigned excitement when a friend of yours got the starring role in a really huge movie. Feigned excitement. Oh, I'm so happy for you. No. Oh,
I don't have any famous
guys.
friends.
All right. Finally, have you choked up and pledged money after one of those really sad ASPCA ads sent to Sarah McLachlan's Angel? You know those? No? All right, that was good. Not a bad set of guys.
I went out and rescued a dog instead. I'd recommend that.
All right, I want to go
I
back.
found a Jack in the Box after one of those commercials. Hey, was that bad?
My mind's going someplace else. It's not good.
All right, let's go back to the start of your career when you were doing that first set of headshots.
Oh, bloody.
Tell me about your first headshot experience. Did you dress up in different looks? Did you do an emotional pose? Let me start with you, John.
I remember it very, very vividly. My first headshot session was back in, I just left drama college like 2010. And they said to me, it's going to be quite a long thing, but we want to get as much as we can at a time. So just bring 2 or 3 different shirts, 2 or 3 different tops, just so we can see a kind of. But because I didn't really understand the question too much. I didn't really understand the instruction, and because I was a kind of very weight conscious young man, and I'd heard that black was slimming from somewhere. I just brought 3 identical black shirts. And he got them, I know, tell a lie, it was 2 black shirts and 1 black t-shirt. Just for that summer look. And the guy got them on, I just don't think we're going to get a great range of things. Yeah, no, I just didn't understand that. But it was. I mean, I still don't like having my photographs taken. No, I don't know about these guys. I think that my face is much better, believe it or not, my face is much better in motion. It's just hard to get the right moment, you know?
Chris,
Yeah.
Chris, what about you?
Well, my first headshots actually, they were in college, and a friend of mine who was a photographer at the time, he took them for free. I mean, this is way back when you had dark rooms, and I watched him develop with I think there was a turtleneck involved, I'm sure. And I wear glasses now. I was really fascinated by glasses, so I had some fake glasses for certain looks. But then years later, I have a shot. I've been trying to eliminate it because my friends won't let me live it down. Where I don't know why I thought it was it's this shot, and I have my hands kind of like this and flexing, and it's the bane of my existence.
Show your gun, right?
Showing the guns, yes. Yes.
All right, Cameron, what about you?
My first headshots were terrible. Like John, I don't really like having my picture taken. I don't really know why, but I'm sure that the first prints are just my face locked in terror. And then my agent at the time said, do 4 shots of vodka and go back. And they're still my headshots today.
Billy?
My first headshots, I was 10 years old, and my teeth were still messed up. I had this, so they put everything on me to hide those teeth. I had these big gaps in my teeth. I had a pitchfork, and I had sort of skateboarding, just trying to make this kid look decent. Yeah.
All right, Aiden, how about you?
Similar to John, I'm not. I get very self-conscious with still cameras, and I like the face in motion as well. So my brother, who was a pretty good photographer, took a series of quite verite shots. I just sat there and had a conversation with him or with myself, and it just looked like a face in motion. And whatever we could afford to print up, it wasn't that many. It was there were really good pics. We had about 4 different ones. We got 5 of each. And I quickly ran out of them, so I used to, when I was going out for auditions, I used to ask them for the picture back, No, seriously, that's the way it was, I couldn't afford it. So, and the last one I ever had, I had to go and get it back from one place to go to this audition for what turned out to be my professional stage debut when I was 18. And this director, I asked him, can I have my picture back, on the spot, just straight after doing the thing? He said, no, we want to hang on to it. So I thought, interesting. And it ended up being the picture that they used in the foyer of the Bush Theatre in London for the show. Yeah, and they still have it.
Michael?
35 years ago, I went to a guy named Van Williams. He had a tiny office in Midtown Manhattan, so small that there was nowhere to take a picture in it. So you would go with Van, who didn't dress particularly well, and you would go out into Bryant Park. So I had one of those headshots with a lot of foliage in the background. It was out of focus, fortunately. Not me, but the foliage was out of focus. But I used it for a while. It was fairly good, and I didn't dress oddly. I just had a dark shirt and a jacket.
All right. Okay. Foliage guy. All right. So I feel like you can tell a lot about a person on how they played as a kid. I may be wrong about this, but go with me on it. Can you tell me what was your favorite childhood toy? Favorite childhood toy? I'm gonna start with you, Billy.
Oh gosh. Well, my favorite childhood toy was a motorcycle, a little motorcycle thing with the handlebars and a guy on it. That was my toy. I took it everywhere. I even melted it in the woods behind my house. For real, I discovered matches at the same time. I melted it.
Did you think it would come back?
What's that?
Did you think it would come back?
Yeah, I thought it would come back. And funny enough, in the last episode of Cobra Kai, I was driving on the exact same motorcycle with the exact same helmet, and I took a picture. I'm like, hey, that looks like the toy I played when I was a kid. Now I'm that guy. I hope I don't catch on fire.
Cameron, what about you? What was your toy?
I'm a child of the 90s, so I grew up with Toy Story, so I had a Woody. And I had Woody and my brother had...
Come on!
In his hand.
Those didn't
Too easy, too easy.
I really didn't.
That's gonna go out everywhere.
Yeah, it could have been worse. Someone else want to take it?
Oh, what happened with...
Herman Cub had a Woody in the 90s.
I had a Woody, and again, just kind of opens the hat to Buzz. So, yeah, you took a really wonderful, innocent story, and I did.
Silky, what was your toy?
No, God. You know, like everyone's gonna call me that. Yes. I really loved Legos. I had a huge set of Legos, and no matter what, I always ended up making a spaceship, some kind of spaceship or rocket of some kind. So, but then the weird kind of actor kid in me, all my little Lego men, I would like make them into a band. I would kind of take things and put them in, like they had guitars and yeah.
It's nice. John?
Well, it's not so much a toy, but it gives you an insight into my kind of childhood. That when I was big, especially being a 90s kid as well, collecting was a big thing. Like some people collected like football stickers, and some people collected Pokemon cards were massive when I was at school as well. But the only thing I've ever really seriously collected is in England, maybe even here as well, but definitely in England, you could get an envelope for £1 with photographs, collectible photographs of the Spice Girls. Those things. And
You had a Woody too.
Silky scores, yeah!
yes. So that was the only thing that I ever really collected, and I had my close kind of friends outside of school were all girls, and so I spent my entire childhood trying to get a picture of Jerry Halliwell being lifted in the air by a guy called Hunter from Gladiators. He's got a rare picture, like the shiny Charizard of these Spice Girls. I never quite got one, so if anybody out there's got a hookup, I'll be very, very grateful.
Wow. Aiden?
I also had a man on a motorcycle, but he was called Evil Knievel.
Oh.
Yeah, that was his name.
It was and I loved it. And I used to love doing all the stunts, but I also used to love taking his little white outfit off and washing it with detergent in the sink. And I used to put Cindy on the back with Evil, and they do stunts together. And then the final stunt was a massive ramp at the upstairs of my parents' bedroom, which is like about a 25-foot drop, and that was the last stunt he ever did.
Michael?
My sister and I had a thing called Mousetrap. This is it's probably dating me, but it was a Rube Goldberg contraption of rolling balls and swinging levers, and at the end of all this machination, a little trap would fall on top of a plastic mouse. But it was really interesting to watch.
It's a great time. Great time. All right, let's talk about your work in the business. Insulting thing a director has ever said to you, because it's got to happen more than once. Let's start with you, Chris. Most insulting thing a director's ever said.
Well, I don't want to name names, so I won't name names, but a director yelled at me once. Well, twice. Because the first time he yelled at me, we were doing kind of a comedy-esque project, and I crack a lot in those things, and it was a set where there was a lot of cracking going on, like just throughout the whole season. And at one point we were like fighting daylight, and I cracked, and he just yelled, just flipped out, and to the point where I thought he was joking. And I was just like, oh wow. And then I realized he was serious. And so then, maybe months later, we were doing something, and I wasn't even on camera this time. It was the actress was on camera, but when we looked at each other, if we looked at each other too long, someone would crack. So I'm not even on camera, I'm off camera, doing her off camera, and she cracks, and he yells at me again, but at this time, I wasn't in a really good mood. I didn't hurt him, but I did embarrass him, and then he apologized, and now it's over.
Wait, did you yell back? Or did
I just, well, my wife's out there, she's probably saying it right now. He started to yell, he was gonna go on this rant, and I said, not today, I'm not the one. I'm not the one, not today. And the crew, like, for quite a bit, because they were really happy to see that he got put in his place, and so for like weeks on end, they were just like, Chris, I'm not the one, I'm not the one. Yeah.
Billy, how about you?
Well, so many to choose from. Well, let's see. I had an audition once where a director said after my audition, you should consider doing something else for a living. Maybe go back to school, which is what I did, and I ended up doing a movie called Back to School. And then on that movie, halfway through, the director pulled me aside and said, we're watching dailies. He pulled me on my trailer and made a big deal of it, and he said, you're coming off too funny. And I said, well, isn't this a comedy? He goes, yeah, but you're not supposed to be funny. You're supposed to be the jerk from the Karate Kid in Back to School. And I said, well, I disagree. I think he's more funny. So I did a lot of shtick and kind of stuff to make him a little different than that. And they cut around that. So there's kind of like it's kind of a half-baked performance that was done in the edit room there. So sorry, Alan, but I'm still like what I was thinking about. Anyway, those are kind of insulting things. It's just when they don't say anything is mostly insulting, I think. You do your best and you put your heart on the floor, and it's like, okay, moving on. It's like, wait, is that good, or is that, oh no, we got it. And then it turned out it's good, so there's so many to choose from.
Cameron, how about you? Cameron?
I was very young, and I was just starting out I'd done lots of theatre, but I hadn't done a lot of camera work, and I was very, very nervous, and I had a director on the project who, after one of my first days, just said, yeah man, just, try and be more in the moment. Which is all well and good. I know he was just trying to help, but you might as well have just said, act better. It's the same kind of direction, honestly. I've been very lucky. It hasn't been that bad for me.
Michael?
I once took a meeting with a director to play a villain in some damn thing. And when we sat down, trying to make conversation nervously, the way you do, I said, wow, this guy's not a very nice guy. And she said, I'm not interested in working with actors who prejudge their characters. And that was it. As if it wasn't play acting anyway. Doesn't mean I couldn't play it. I'm just trying to make conversation.
Aiden, how about you?
Well, my one, it isn't so much an insult, but maybe in a backhanded way. It's kind of the opposite. It's both at once, It was one of the first film roles I had, and it was a pretty decent role, but I was quite young. And the director, who's a pretty famous Irish director, brought me into a room and he said, I've been watching noises. And I says, don't mind what they're saying about you. You're doing really well. I felt I was, and I think I did, but that's what he said.
All right.
It really helped the next 8 weeks.
All right, heroic characters and love scenes often go hand in hand. I can't imagine they all go swimmingly, so I was hoping you could also share the most awkward moment you've ever had during an intimate on-camera scene. I don't know if you all did a sex scene, so I'm going to start with volunteers on this question. Chris? Oh, wait.
nerdy. Well, let's see. Kind of two things come to mind. One, I had to do this kind of, I mean, it was safe. It was like television sex scene, and me and the actress both like really didn't want to do it. I personally didn't think it really had a point in the script. But the day that we did it, she proceeded to get hammered. Like, I kind of took it personal because she basically like it seemed like she needed to get hammered to do a sex scene with me. And so that didn't go well. And it kind of didn't help my self-esteem at that juncture. I've had like a stage kiss, and the girl like kind of shoved her tongue down my throat, and then apologized after because that wasn't supposed to happen.
That's uncomfortable.
I've got way worse than that.
Go, man, go.
So I was working on something where my character had to be in quite good shape, six packs and all that nonsense. And I was working out a lot, like a crazy person, and really restricted diet, and it was horrible. And I'd read a piece of advice on a bodybuilding blog, which is you're meant, right before bodybuilders do a show, they deplete their carbohydrates, and then the day before, they gorge themselves with carbohydrates. And it floods your system with glycogen, and it pumps up your muscles. So the love scene was coming up, and I did 3 weeks. I had no carbohydrates, and then the day before, pasta and bagels and oatmeal, and I woke up the next day and I looked brilliant. And then I sat down in the tent before the scene, and still feeling great. What the bodybuilding blog failed to say is that when you flood your system with carbohydrates, when your stomach isn't used to it, you're gonna look great, but you're really gonna need to poop. Really, really badly. Really, really suddenly.
So there I am in the tent, 1 minute feeling great, the next my stomach is committing suicide. And I'm thinking, right, I've got to, because sex scenes are really awkward, and like, you don't want to make it about you. And I'm like, right, I've got to get rid of this situation. But then the AD comes, the tent says, we're ready for you guys. So I'm walking to and my stomach is in bits, and I try and fart to release some of the pressure. I can't believe I'm telling the story. Okay.
Try to let off some pressure.
There's nobody here.
Okay.
So I did, but it was one of those where you get more than you bargain. So my bum slams. And so there I am, my arse clenched. I go on set, and it's not really a love scene. It's actually it's a really intimate, really important scene that is vital to the story and the characters. And I get on set, and all the cameras are pointed at me. It's my coverage. There's no escape. So there I am, locked into the moment, the character trying desperately to be there, whilst also not literally crapping my own pants. Finally, I hear the magic words, turn around, which means I have about 15 minutes. And I run, and bear in mind, I'm pretty much entirely naked except for a dressing gown. And I'm not doing so good. And I sprint for a toilet. But the thing is, when you're doing sort of love scenes, the ideal is that everyone on set is very respectful and very conscientious. And the director got in between me and the door, and he just said, "That was really beautiful work, man." And I've seen the edit; it's some of my finest work, truly. Top that one. That's it right there. You can all go home now.
I mean, does anyone have, John, do you have a good awkward sex scene, John Bradley? How about you?
Well, I think one of the most awkward things about any kind of sex scene is the fact that you suddenly have to bring a certain amount of your private life into work. You know what I mean? So if you're supposed to be doing the act with whoever you're supposed to be doing the act with, you're kind of still, even though you're in character, you're kind of still bringing a bit of your own love-making behaviour into it.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Oh.
Because you don't want to get on there and start doing something really weird, like you think is really normal. You just think it's just the most vanilla thing, and the whole crew go. John, literally nobody else in the world does that. Because some, I mean, for example, a scene that I had, which was an awkward scene to shoot for so many reasons, was it wasn't a sex scene; it was a sexual scene. Which one of my scenes isn't a sexual scene? But the character has to be kind of seduced and lap danced, and by lap danced on or at or to by two women, and the scene culminates in the character having a massive heart attack from eating a plate of cocaine. That's one of those scenes where you don't want to go in with an air of no direction needed.
Right.
I've got this.
Now if we ever see you have sex though in a show, we're going to assume, well, that's the way that John Bradley does it. Thanks to this panel.
Well, eating a plate of cocaine.
Right.
I need a plate of cocaine just to summon up the energy to do it. I'm on low carb.
If you want to start lining up, by the way, for questions, we'll be with you shortly. How about you, Aiden? Do you have a good sex moment? Awkward?
Yeah, loads of them. I don't know, I mean, I was left handcuffed to a bed with a dog collar around my neck and furry kind of ankle things by a crew, after we finished they just walked up and let me there. That was just an act of cruelty. There was one that I genuinely can't possibly tell you about. Come to me later. Yeah, I'll come back to me on that maybe.
Well, wait, now that you're here, remember that one scene in Game of Thrones where he's encouraging the prostitutes to pleasure each other? I think that was early on. Y'all remember that, don't you? And he's watching the whole time. What was that like to shoot?
I'll tell you what that was like. There was people appearing, with lights that weren't there before. We're shooting this scene in, I think it was in Malta, and I was, they're doing that thing, but I was talking about something else. So I was doing my thing. I wasn't really paying attention. It was a technical exercise. I was talking about, Catelyn Stark and why I loved her and how I loved her. But there was a gentleman appeared, behind one of the flats with hands held light. There was another guy appeared under the stage. There was people appearing from all over the shop that weren't supposed to be there. Suddenly joined the crew, and there was a dog. There was this dog outside that started getting really kind of excited and barked all the way through it. So there's quite a lot of ADR done in that scene, but it was great. It was just another day at the office, really.
Michael, do you have something you'd like to share?
I have to say, this is all brought to me the sad realization that none of the characters I play have romantic lives. What's up with that? Where's the girlfriend? Where's the... I have kissed once on screen, but it was Carrie. It was my own wife. We didn't even do it quite right. We both dipped our head the same way. Cut.
Billy, I didn't get you.
I'm sorry?
Did I get you? What did you...
Yes, no, I had the same one as Cameron. We had the same story.
All right,
We both read the same article.
I was curious, where's the most embarrassing place that you've ever been recognized? Most embarrassing place?
I'm very lucky. I do a cult science fiction show, so I'm really only famous in San Diego for a year within about 5 blocks,
which is great. It's brilliant. I go home, my own friends don't care who I am. But it wasn't so much awkward. It was actually brilliant. I was about to go on my first date with my girlfriend, and I was so nervous. And we'd known each other for years, and it was a while in the build-up, and I already knew that I was head over heels in love with her. And I was outside this restaurant, and I was literally shaking. I was so nervous. I'd never been more nervous for anything in my whole life. And someone walks by, and in a movie from the 50s, it would have been my guardian angel, because that person walked by and said, "You're Cameron from Krypton, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah. Yeah, I am." And this person walked by and walked into the restaurant and then was talking to their friend about having met me as my girlfriend was passing by. And she's like, "Did you get recognized?" I was like, "Yeah, it happens all the time."
Nice.
Billy, how about you?
Oh gosh, they're all embarrassing. I don't know, the most embarrassing place, I mean, a doctor's office is never a fun place when you're sitting there, you know, getting ready to go in, you know, depending what kind of doctor it is, I won't reveal that, but you know, "Oh, hey, I love your work," and you're like, "Oh yeah, that's not me. You look like the guy." "No, it's not me." You know, I get that every day. "Are you Johnny from the Karate Kid?" "No, I get that every day," you know, and then they're like, "Mr. Zapka, it's your turn, come on in." You know, right back, come on. "I knew that was you, good luck." "Yeah, you good luck," you know. Oh, that's it, I hate that.
Anyone else? Michael?
I was on a crowded subway car one day, and a guy way the other end of the car stood up and said, "Yeah, that's him! That's him! Over there!" And he's pointing at me, and of course everybody in the bloody car, all 200 people, are looking at me. And what am I to do in that moment? You feel like it's your cue, or something. I looked behind me.
Anyone else?
So my first time ever in New York, I was an adult, and my manager had gotten me a place to stay and tickets and all that. And I was leaving Rent, and I'm walking and I'm starving because I hadn't eaten all day. And I hear someone behind me go, "You dropped something?" So I thought I legitimately dropped something. I had like programs and whatnot. I turn around, I start walking, and I'm looking down as I'm walking, looking to see what I dropped. And I look up, and there's two women are there, and one girl's like, "You dropped me." Oh wait, it gets better. It gets better. So she's like, "Oh, you know," and she recognized me. I'm like, "Yeah," and she's like, "You know, can I get an autograph?" I'm like, I'm really hungry," and she's like, "Please," and then like, "Do you have anything to write with?" She's like, "Yeah." So our friend starts to go through this like house of a purse, trying to find a pen. Meanwhile, she's just going, "You're so handsome. Don't leave me." Her friend's not finding a pen. So finally I'm like, "Oh, I really gotta go." She's like, "Well, can I get a hug?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." So I go to give her a hug. And something felt like it was like a spidey sense in the moment. It's like something doesn't feel quite right. And as I'm hugging, she's rubbing my back, and before I know it, she's taking her hand down my back and got right up in, yes, all up in the business, all up in it, and just got a good grab. And
How embarrassing.
so I stand up straight, and I'm just like, I gotta go. And I turn around and I just start hightailing it, and I'm distraught. I feel like I was just like raped from the street, basically. And I get to an intersection, still flipping out. And at this point, this is like, oh, I'm now walking like a New Yorker, because I'm just like, and, you know, a day later, a day before that, I was kind of like, oh, look at all the buildings. Now I'm just like, whoa, 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 whoa. I stop at the intersection and I hear this really deep voice behind me who's like, "First I thought I knew you from the penitentiary, but now I know who you are." And I turn around and there's this huge dude in a wheelchair. It's like, and it took me a while to like appreciate New York after that. So
It's crazy. John and Ada, if you don't mind, I don't know if you can top that, so we'll go to a question. Unless you have a moment. Do you have a moment, John? With the awkward, you don't? Okay, good. All right.
Very hard to embarrass.
I know. All right, let's go for the first question. A gallon yellow, go.
Hi, my name is Laura, and my question for you guys is if you could could go back in time and talk to your younger self when you were just getting started, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Don't hug people on the street.
I was going to say, a few years from now, you're going to read on a bodybuilding blog. Don't do that.
That's really impressive. I've never heard that you go protein and then you have the... Did you really look good that day? I mean, were you ripped with the carbs?
I mean, I'm not going to say worth it, because it wasn't. I looked alright. I was happy.
Anyone want to say something to their younger self?
I would say don't worry so much and have more fun.
Next question, the big dude.
Hey guys, Rob. My question is for the last three, so Billy, Chris, and Cameron. In today's 2019, there's a lot of gray and ambiguity with the heroes and the people that are either leaders or mentors in popular media. So, with Billy's character, Johnny, being kind of a flawed hero, Cameron, your character from Krypton, kind of finding his way, and Chris, your character, Black Lightning, establishing himself. How do you find it bleeding into your personal lives?
Well, I can say for me, I've been carrying the torch of Johnny Lawrence for 35 years as a Karate Kid, so I'm the guy that everybody, I hated you, I love to hate you, I hated you, you're such an a-hole, So this is kind of sweet for me that, they've turned him into an anti-hero and people are rooting for him, and he's got some, he's a work in progress, he's a little bit of a fossil, and kind of from the 80s, which is really cool to play. It only plays in my life that, it's helped me. The character is completely not into social media. He doesn't know what the web is and all those things. He's into simpler things in simpler times. So I'm actually learning from the character, and it's making me realize, push some of that stuff aside and to focus on the more real stuff, because he's a very simpleton. He's a kind of old school guy. So I think there's something kind of heroic in that, but it's ambiguous. He is gray. You don't know if you should root for him, love him, or hate him. But he's got a heart of gold, and so for me, it's the first time I've had an experience of people going, "Hey, I love Johnny Lawrence," and after all this time, it's a nice feeling. So that plays into my life.
Cameron, what about you?
Sagan, he's so much braver and funnier, and he's the super version of me, and so there's no, we're so different, but I think the thing that I loved about his journey in season 1, which made me sort of realize something, was that the entire time he's so worried about who he is and his role in the world and the symbol that he wears and how to be a hero, how he can be a hero, and finally he realizes at the very end when he sacrifices himself to go into the Phantom Zone, is that being a hero isn't about you at all, it's about everyone else. And that was a really wonderful lesson to sort of take forward, into your everyday life as well. It's not about you.
Chris, you next.
One of the things that me and Jefferson have in common is family. That you can see from season 1 that he puts his family first, and it's hugely important to me. I pride myself in doing the same thing. But what's really amazing is that a lot of times, with superhero characters, the alter egos, they exist just pretty much to cover, the identity. And with Jefferson, I'm amazed at the fact that he's such a noble, heroic character without his powers. His alter ego is just, this principal, this teacher, this Olympic athlete, and it preaches, education and second chances and all these really noble things. And so it's awesome especially when I see kids come up to me on the street and recognize me, that it's really, I think, awesome and rare to be extremely proud, not just the work you're doing, but proud of the character you're actually playing as a person. And so it's been a great treat for me.
Next question.
Hi, gentlemen. A huge fan of all of you guys. This question's, my name's Candido. This question's to all of you guys. If you guys could play either in the show you're in right now or the shows you've done in the past, any other role, who would you play?
Wait. All right, wait, is he asking you to choose between all your roles? What do you, say that again? He's saying, what?
He's asking us which other character in any of the shows we've been in we would like to play as well as our own, right?
Correct. For example, John, you in Game of Thrones or Aiden, is there any other role that you would have liked to portray? Or same for all of you guys?
We could just play
To each other.
Yeah, we could play each other.
I quite like Tywin Lannister, you know, do that one in 10 years, maybe.
Well, I think other roles.
There's a few others there as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're fine.
I was always jealous of Mr. Echo on Lost, but it was always to be an unfulfilled wish because I'm not a towering Nigerian prince. But that was a sensationally mysterious and cryptic kind of part. He was so great.
I mean, I always, you know, villains a lot of times are a lot more fun. You get to do and just go places. And so, you know, I've told Marvin, who plays Tobias, that I'd love to switch places with him and just get down and dirty.
Similarly with me, I think Colin Salmon is my General Zod. He's so brilliant. I could never do as good a job as him, but what a fascinating role. And I think the best villains see themselves as heroes, and he's such a fascinating character, and he's deeply motivated to do what he does, and I think that would be a fascinating role to play for sure, General Zod.
I'd be Daniel LaRusso for a day. I wouldn't mind that. See what that feels like? Drive around town in a nice car, have a nice wife, kids, own the world, and be a pain in the butt of Johnny Lawrence. I'd like to see what that's like. Just kidding, Ralph.
All right, next question.
Hello, hi, my name is Sue. The question is for everyone. Mr. Michael Emerson, I loved you in Person of Interest. My question is...
Sure.
My question is, if you guys ever came to Comic-Con, what would you dress up, cosplay?
Nice question. What would you dress up as at Comic-Con?
Probably Superman.
Anybody else? Michael, what would you dress up as if you wanted to be a furry or a cosplayer? Is that right? That's probably not right. What would you dress up as?
Are you talking to me?
I'm sorry. What would you dress up as? If you came to Comic-Con just as yeah.
God, I don't know. Maybe one of Robin Hood's merry men? Is that even allowed?
Aiden, what do you think?
I don't know, I'd probably try something really difficult, like Flipper. Give myself really long distances to go between places and see if I could flip her around town. And then just flip her into the sea.
John?
Do you all know who Flipper is?
Yes. John, how about you?
I would, well, my first instinct, and it's a character that I've been obsessed with for a long time, is the Penguin. I'd love to dress as the traditional kind of 60s kind of Batman, Adam West Penguin. But because, without my beard, I don't look a million miles away from the Penguin anyway. So if I go out dressed as the Penguin, I'm just worried people are going to think, that guy's dressed really smart. That guy's come in a top hat and tail. How cute. He's on his way to a wedding or something. But yeah, Penguin.
I agree. Chris, how about you?
Maybe a Jedi. I've got a lightsaber at home. I've got my own lightsaber, so I think I'd be a Jedi, and I could kind of put the hood over so people would, not know that I was me.
Billy, how about you?
I would go with I would be BB-8. We could go together, but it would be like a giant BB-8, so I could just roll through the crowd, and just like, here it comes. Excuse me, just get to everywhere I want to go. Roll into that thing. It might happen.
All right, one more question, then we gotta go. What was the last truly brave thing that you did? Last truly brave thing. Michael?
I have to tell you, I do not live the kind of life where opportunities for heroism come up often. So, whatever I do that's heroic or brave, it's on a minute scale, and I'm more likely to challenge myself to be kinder or more sympathetic. There's not much action in my life.
That was your answer, though. Aiden, how about you?
Like brave or heroic, can it be either? I don't know, I saved a goldfish not so long ago. It was a classic cat knocked a goldfish bowl over with my son's fish in there, and I managed to get them before they expired and before the cat ate them, which was kind of hard because the cat was really one of them. And I got them into the sink, and they're not still in the sink. They're still with us.
John?
The only thing I can say is, given some of the quite vocal feedback from season 8, being here.
Chris, how about you?
My life's pretty boring. We live in Atlanta now, and it's and it's summertime, and our backyard is right up against the woods. So every time I gotta go out there to pick up dog poop, I'd say I'm being brave because it's dangerous. I hate bugs and any creepy crawlies. If you have fur, I'm good. If you anything else, nah. So it's a challenge each time.
Cameron?
I think brave people rarely think they're being brave. Like, heroes don't think of themselves as being heroes, and I think Michael was right. It's in the small things, in the everyday things, and the things that you don't necessarily think are a big deal that can make a difference. And I think in my case, my girlfriend and I rescued a dog, and she got hit by a car and she lost a leg, and she was very, very young, and she hid behind a tree for months and months and months and wouldn't come out. And now she snuggles with us in bed, and she loves us, and she's such a happy dog, and it's one of the most rewarding experiences of my entire life. So do something small, and it might make a big difference to one creature, and I think then it's sort of worth it.
Billy, you get the last word.
I did the same thing with a possum. And he's so cute. No, I got a few, but mostly it's because of my kids. But it's like, like you said, you don't think of yourself as brave or heroic. But I look through my kids' eyes. I have a 9 and a 5-year-old. Just took my kids camping, and my daughter wanted to go ride on her bike following my son. I let him go out in front, which I rarely do. It's brave being a parent. So you're saying, yes, son, go ahead. And sure enough, right? And I let him go, and sure enough, he had a big wipeout. He jumped up, flew over the handlebars, tucked and rolled, and landed on his feet. He goes, "That was awesome!" So, I think that was brave of me to let him do that. And then part 2 of my daughter was like seeing, he's going off by himself, so she's right. It's dirt, it's hilly. So I said, "No, you can't do this part. Trust me, it's too down of a slope." So I came up behind her and I grabbed her back of her bike and let her believe she was going down to the bottom. And then she got to the bottom. She goes, "Daddy, I know what you were doing, and you're like a superhero." So, whatever my kids think, it'll last for a couple more years. Then I'll be like, "Dad, shut up, bro. Stop calling so much, we're fine. But right now it's awesome. No, love my kids, that's it. Anything you can do for your children and be a hero for them, that's what it's all about.
All right, we hate saying goodbye, but 2000